It's involved.
No, I think I got rid of most of it. Probably a box with something.
So, guys, make sure and use the mics as well, because otherwise we're not going to get it for the
those two mics
stream.
there. Why has everyone gotten really quiet and looking at me? You're freaking me out.
You've got a microphone, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right, just so everyone's aware, I'm going to stick that down there and press record.
It's good that it's there because my voice doesn't travel so well.
Absolute state of this. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm speaking into the mic for the purposes of the live stream. This is just really quite awkward, but you know how it is. So there's certain things that we need to do tonight that are required for legal purposes because we've all been determined to do this the right way. And this happened over the summer. Ta-da, we actually exist as a company. We're not just a bunch of people in a pub. So I know, and I want to thank Ord for doing this. It's been really wonderful for this to go from an idea to an actual registered company in a matter of, 6 months, just because everybody just got on with it. But as a registered company, we are required to tick certain legal boxes. And first of that is we have to elect office bearers. And these are people who, some of you may have had directorships, so you'll know this. These are people who bear the formal responsibility of looking after Web Matters as an entity. And yes, this is all volunteer and self-driven, but for legal purposes, these are accountable roles. Your details will be searchable at Companies House. And God forbid if something went wrong, the questions would fall onto you, but it wouldn't happen, but you just know how these things work. So we are required to have 3 roles, which are chairperson, treasurer, and secretary. And there's a full description of what each of the 3 roles involve on our Slack and on the website. So has everyone had a chance to look at them? Okay. Does anybody want to put themselves forward?
I don't mind putting my name forward.
Okay.
It's whether you want me to do that.
Is someone jotting notes down, by the way? Yes. Never volunteer for anything in Web Matters, yeah. So, Alan, you are putting yourself forward, chairperson, treasurer, secretary?
Definitely not treasurer. It depends on level of involvement, to be perfectly honest. I don't mind putting my name down for purposes of facilitating what we need to do.
You've been really superb throughout, just certainly in my dealings with you, of thinking of things the rest of us completely overlooked. And I think that's a strength you have. And I think you probably noticed that too. The 3 of us will think we've got everything tickety-boo, and Alan will say something like, oh.
What about that?
So I think that's a strength you have. And what role you find for that is up to you.
I've always kind of, in terms of sort of thinking of Web Matters, not necessarily see myself in an advisory role, but sort of part of some form of steering committee, where I'm quite happy. I mean, I've been active in sort of the standards committee for the best part of a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I don't care, I do care.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in terms of getting things rolling, I don't mind having my name as a signatory if that needs to happen for whatever, but
I don't want anyone to feel obliged. I know we all have day jobs and families and personal dramas we need to get through. So don't feel like you have to.
I don't necessarily see myself in any particular role, so it's an act of contrite.
Apologies to the live stream. A bunch of Scottish people in a room. What are you expecting? So let's hold that thought, Alan. And what else? Does anyone else want to put themselves forward for chairperson, treasurer, or secretary? Charlie, you've kind of been handling Lenny's side.
going.
Yeah.
Um,
Charlie, just for everyone's information, has been setting up our bank account, which is not set up yet because banks still run like it's the 1980s on paper. And I think it's been 3 months he's been trying to get a basic organizational bank account.
6
So-
weeks. 6
Okay.
weeks. It should have been 3 months,
So
but I
we-
was late.
So, should have clarified this at the start. We can't actually take memberships tonight. The idea was that we would start signing up actual members, but we cannot do that because we do not have a bank account to put the money in because snail mail and signed scanned documents and all that. So as soon as that's up and running, we can go with that.
It should be within a month.
In all fairness, I think it's more important that we formalise the company properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From there, it's up to the members.
Yeah.
Or active community, even at this point in time,
I mean-
to where we end up going.
I've always, and this is my personal opinion, but I've always seen this as a member-driven organization. Our job is to just, not our job, the signatory's role is to steward the organization and get the hell out of the way. You know, let everyone get on with what needs to be done and just make sure this organization ticks all the boxes and runs as it should.
Yeah, treasurer is doable for me,
Okay.
certainly at the moment, because it won't involve as much. But in terms of keeping a spreadsheet, keeping an eye on money and sorting out memberships, that I can do.
Okay, so we have Charlie for treasurer. We still need a chairperson and a secretary.
Has there been active communication with the Slack channel around potential people out with sort of the Edinburgh catchment? 'Cause
The channel was open to everyone, committee nominations channel. Not one person put themselves forward
Fair enough.
for anything.
I guess, I know Chris has been active down the road,
Yeah,
and I don't want this to be an Edinburgh-driven voice.
this is a very good point you're making. It just so happens that we're all physically located in Edinburgh, which is, but if anybody watching on the live stream wants to pop in to AGM or committee nominations,
Yeah.
Slack in here, okay, in the AGM 2017 channel, anyone from out with Edinburgh, Scotland, please give us your thoughts and please put yourself forward if you feel you would like to fill one of these legally required roles, or if there's any other role you'd like to propose. Yes, Ben, number one rule of life is disregard YouTube. That's just. This is weird. I'm talking into a microphone to people here, and
Yeah. It's just to boost you enough for the camera over here, pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
hi on the AstroTurf with my beer.
The committee nominations thing was interesting as far as seeing that channel there and seeing not a lot of folk joining it and stuff, coupled with kind of Rachel's recent comments about Slack fatigue and kind of number of channels. It might be that we need to try and start pushing email through MailChimp or whoever as more of a let's have a list, let's keep growing the list, and then get the actions from that being forms and stuff rather than
So that
pushing people
in
into
itself is a role. That's a communications role.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to get things right from the start in terms of having all of these roles clearly defined and assigned and transparent so that we're not duplicating effort or doing things the wrong way. So maybe that's our first non-committee,
non-legal,
non-legal committee.
illegal
Yes,
role.
we need people, we're gonna need people on the committee who are not the legal officers. And the communications person is the most obvious one. Another example I can think of is somebody put themselves forward quite a few months ago as a membership administrator. Because that's a lot of slightly tedious, annoying, painful, but incredibly important admin. So, any other ideas, any other thoughts?
I think there's a chance that we might work better rather than having a role, maybe a committee, a few people get together.
Just committee members.
Yeah, instead
Yeah.
of have a communications committee, because then it doesn't feel like it's all on one person's shoulder.
This is very true, a communications committee rather than
I think with memberships, a membership post is probably better as one person, just
yeah, that's,
my experience. But
Yeah.
other roles, maybe committees would work better.
And the chair of the committee can then report into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the really good thing that's come out of the last few months is gap analysis.
Yeah.
Because we initially, I mean, we pitched the idea, we were trying to gain momentum, and then sort of all movements can stumble and fall, but you will always find those that are keen to keep things going.
Yeah.
And sort of definitely one of the big gaps, in my opinion, has been effective communication.
Yeah.
We could have a visitor room with effective communication. I don't know how we do that because we don't necessarily have the community sort of managers or communication sort of people in place who actually do things. So I know I've been actively avoiding doing anything for the last few months, but I've had other things that have been going on.
yeah, yeah.
But everybody's in that boat, and it's how do we sort of effectively break that down so that it's shared responsibility. I know we said earlier on it's whoever's in the room at the time
Mhm.
Yeah.
is actively pushing things forward.
Yeah.
Technically, that's us.
Yeah. If you can agree a foundation of how something like comms, for example, happens and what those workflows are, then anybody can do any of the work at any time, which lends itself to us all being distributed and chaotic. But that stuff's still happening and in accordance with vision and values or
Yeah.
whatever.
So it's,
So we
it's
have-
somebody to lead that, really, and just coordinate it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we've had another idea put forward on Slack, which is a community lead. So communications is one role, community is certainly another.
That's a good one.
So I think that would, as someone who's been doing quite a lot of work on this, if there was communications, community, and things, that would help. So it's not just everyone looking at everyone, that's the person you speak to that they can make decisions, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not responsible for everything, everyone's not responsible for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, more defined roles. Yeah, I think community and communications are the two we need at this stage.
Just
So
to
that
build
might
momentum,
change in a
yeah.
year, it might change in a year or two, but
Yep.
they're the two we need at the moment.
I think community and communication are far more important than membership, as well as I'm completely honest.
It's true.
Membership is a legal requirement, so that's got to be done, but
But we don't necessarily at this point need a membership coordinator
yeah,
because well, at the moment memberships should be straightforward.
yes, yeah.
Pay your member. And it's,
Yeah.
How-
should be easily trackable.
How, I don't know if we're kind of a wandering discussion at the moment, but on membership, if somebody hasn't paid their dues, do they then get asked to leave the Slack channel?
That was on the agenda for today to find what.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you would lose your voting rights.
okay.
And again, that's part of the legal
Yeah.
requirements. If we're wanting to be a representative organization, we can't just be representative of the people who show up in the pub.
Yeah.
It's got to be the voice of membership.
Yeah.
So again, it's a cart before the horse thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's almost a good thing that bank account's not set up because
Yeah.
we've got a little bit of time to massage through these issues.
Okay, so we still need a chair.
Okay.
So Alan, you put yourself forward for. You put yourself forward
A
for
little
something.
terror on your face just now.
Or you're avoiding putting yourself forward for anything.
Absolutely.
I've explained I'm not able to.
Yep, absolutely. This is not the right time for you. Would you be willing to chair?
Depends what's involved, but I don't have issue with taking on some form of responsibility to keep this thing moving.
Just mainly coordinating the meetings and running the meetings.
I do that.
Yes.
As long as I don't like my haphazard agenda running.
Well, that's what we have secretary for.
It's more fun that way.
So we have a nomination for treasurer, we have a nomination for chair, and there's also secretary. Yeah?
In terms of meetings and time commitment at the moment, we're probably just once a month.
Secretary is sort of like administrative coordination.
Yeah.
You're playing ping pong just to rub it in.
The table's out of action tomorrow, so it's important.
We have the league matches in.
Yep.
So the secretary, you know, arranges the meetings, takes the minutes, sends them out. Good detail.
Lacking anyone else to put themselves forward, I'm happy to not put myself forward for that until someone else takes it over.
Yeah, you
Which is the state I think we're all in.
can never take out your notebook and
Yeah,
okay. Okay. Does anyone have any objections or concerns about these three people?
Other than themselves.
What happens at the after party stays at the
Yeah.
after party. Anyone watching the live stream?
We have 6 people watching, and
Is
Lenny
the app-
is currently typing.
Is the Apple live stream that bad?
No, they just had 2 up, right? The two screens.
Okay, all good by me, says Dave. Chris, give us a shout out.
Unless you're watching the Apple one.
15 says Dave. Speak now or forever hold your cheese. All fine with me, says Chris. So, we have our 3 legally required committee people. So now we can talk about those other roles, which are, put myself, oh,
That's really
yeah.
warning my wife that I volunteered.
Put my phone on charge, right? So now we can talk about communications and community.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a shout out for Chris and James for a community role.
Yeah.
Would one of you like to handle those? Because you've been so passionate about this whole project, and you've already talked about making is it Yorkshire?
Yep. Looks like James was up for the comms side of things, as he has been doing.
That's true, yeah, he's been doing the Twitters,
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
So maybe Chris would consider specifically the community.
So Chris,
role.
would you consider the community role? And James, would you consider the communication?
Yeah.
That's what happens when I watch Parliament till 12:30 in the morning. You withdraw, Bill? Speaking of it. Okay, Chris is in. It's like one of those rubbish TV shows where they
Yeah.
announce the winner and pause for 60 seconds. And the winner is.
Several people are typing. That's how you know it's jumping.
Needs better suspense music.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's not a yes.
Oh.
Need some game show music. Please don't make us carry any beers home, everyone.
Can't commit to anything official at the moment.
Yeah,
In the process of
0
setting up a
right?
new business. Yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fine, Chris.
Been there.
Would I be right in saying that you said there was a minimum period that the position needed to be held for?
Is that more so for
there's,
the core
there's
legal
not,
ones?
you can't resign at any time.
Consider this my
You're fine with
notice.
having.
Time in roll, 5 minutes.
So Shan has said she's happy to do brand guardian stuff, which
Yeah, great.
She created a beautiful brand.
Yeah.
I think Shan, you would be just a logical member of the communications team
Yeah,
because
it's hand in hand with that.
I used to do, God, 12, 13 years ago, but I did internal communications and I was the logo Nazi. You know, I could totally get on board with that, so quite happy for you, Shan, to be part of communications. You watching, James?
Haven't seen him active. Maybe going to catch up using our on-demand service later.
He's retweeted. But,
Okay.
You, James. Totally putting you on the spot here.
Somebody reach out to him on Twitter.
Why?
Too many platforms.
Ping, ping.
So you were suggesting Jim for community, is that right?
Jones.
Yeah, communications.
You do, yeah.
Ah, James, not you, Jim.
Anyone else feel free to speak up? Red Warrior stuff. Alert the media, Red Warrior is down. This does not happen open. Sean brought Red Warrior to WordCamp Edinburgh, which we ran in here. And being WordCamp Edinburgh, as Claire will tell you, I wore an inflatable rainbow horn for 2 days. And Brown was looking at me like, because I forgot I was wearing it. What you looking at, kid? Oh. Okay, so yeah, James McCombs.
Okay.
So, Chris obviously can't commit to anything regarding community, but maybe again this is putting the cart before the horse because we don't have a membership yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe if there's anything that we could put off until then, it's the community role, acknowledging that it's a very important part.
Yeah. I mean, there's a community aspect to comms, there's a comms aspect to
Yes.
community, to a certain extent, as long as there's some folk doing some
There's
agitation
a lot
around
of
that.
chicken and egg
enough.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we actually need to, there's been a lot of humming and hawing in all of our meetings, except for this one, about what it is we're aiming to achieve.
Yes.
I think we have a lot of work to do around that on a more regular basis in order to take things forward and really spearhead any kind of marketing, any kind of communication, anything else has to sort of trickle down off the back of that, otherwise it won't succeed.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's very key that we, in order to keep things moving forward, that's why I wanted to put my name on a bit of paper, so that this can,
Just
can
get this out of the road so we can.
I mean, I'll always voice my opinion, and I'll always be happy to be a voice for Starbridge, you know, so it's,
Okay.
I don't have an issue with that, but I
Yeah.
think, like, for the whole community and communication, we have to be able to set rooms, we have to be able to get people in rooms, and
Yeah.
it's a chicken and egg thing.
I feel like at the moment, the thing that we're looking at is there's an overarching primary goal at the moment of getting consultative status. In order to do that, you need to have membership. In order to get membership, you essentially need something that is the equivalent, not necessarily exactly this, but the equivalent of the Kickstarter video that makes you pledge,
Yeah.
right? You need the thing that goes, this is what it is, this is what it's about, it's now time to get a membership and you can be part of shaping this. That might be a video piece, it might be, you know, it doesn't have to be
There's lots of different
super high
channels
budget,
that go
Yeah.
through to
but
that.
exactly, but like essentially having something like that that does the TLDR, like
Yeah.
does the kind of like, just give me the gist of this, why do I want to be involved and why do I care?
Yeah.
It feels probably a little bit emotive, like, you know, probably name checks some of the issues that we should have had a say on, and says let's actually do that. That I think is the thing. at the moment, it's kind of like what I've been saying to people. I've been saying, oh yeah, it's really cool. It's this nascent self-organizing industry body. And people go, words, like words. You know, where like,
We ask
that
you
looks,
to just feed in all those thoughts to communications.
Yeah.
I know you're a little bit busy right now.
it's only 2 businesses and a new baby, it'll be fine. Yeah,
Softly.
but, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But essentially, like, if you're, because I think if you've got that overarching thing, like, once we get beyond consultative status,
Yeah.
that's when the real work begins,
Yeah.
right? But to get to there, if that's the goal, then what you're essentially doing is saying, okay, folks, like, if you get on board, we build an organisation together that gets consultative status, then you have a direct line to being able to change policy.
Yeah.
Change policy.
Yeah.
As long as we can find a way to paint that's straightforward and quick, then I think people will come. You know, and actually the stuff people have been doing this week about hitting up various, what I would term like web celebrities, for want of a better term, all entirely respectable folk, not celebrities, you know, but in the kind of mainstream sense. But they're folks that have reach, right? And that's the thing. Like, as soon as you get some of those folks on board.
It was nice to see Jeremy Keith things.
I mean, was that just a liking a tweet? Like, I don't know what extent, or was he?
It was on his.
Because it was on Adactio Links, but that to me is like a public bookmarking thing. So like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Has it got quite a big? Yeah. Okay.
It's got some traction.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I kind of think before we do that, before we
Yeah.
talk to people like that, we kind of need an objective. You know,
I was actually thinking, let's move things along.
Yeah.
Agenda point, yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, the next agenda point was membership.
We
But
covered
we've covered this because of the silly complication of the bank paperwork not being done yet, so we have no bank account to put memberships into, which may be a blessing in disguise, as it gives us time to formulate what people are joining for. So we'll
Yeah.
move on from that.
is there anything we need to tidy up before we move on?
Well, as secretary, you need to hold that over to the next agenda.
I'm assuming that's just waiting on the bank.
Bank, yeah, and then setting up a
So
shopping cart of
by
some sort.
this time in October, we'll have back.
Yeah.
Great.
By this time this month.
Yeah. Oh no, they finally got me to apply for the right one now.
Okay.
Because
So-
I was applying for the wrong one in the beginning.
Which bank is this?
Somebody had a quoted to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got me to apply for the not-for-profit organisation. Actually, I should have been applying for a club organisation, but it's actually then going to be changed to the not-for-profit later, so they can't
Yeah,
do
when
that.
I had that particular drum in my personal life, I learned it was because of the sales commission structure. They didn't get certain sales commission for certain kind of account openings.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So anyway,
The next legal tick box, again, this is things that are required by that piece of paper, were the acceptance of the Articles of Association. These have been up in draft form on the website for donkey's ears. Does anyone have an issue with them? I don't even remember who wrote them at this point.
I've read them, I remember not having a problem, I don't remember everything.
They are taken from a boilerplate for setting up a charity.
Okay.
So they are maximum accountability, and they have changes made for the purposes of matters, and that was all stuff on draft. That was on the draft.
Okay.
So yeah.
Big shout out and thanks to John, who was there with us in February in Glasgow when I just stood up in front of a room and swore at people for 2 hours, and here we are. It's what I do best. So Chris is having a look at the Articles of Association. Is the manifesto required by law, or is that just our?
that was our.
That was our little.
Yeah.
That was the soapbox. Take 2 minutes and have a look at the Articles of Association.
Shouldn't be a topic to get on something else.
Nope.
Check it out. I should be in there.
Next time.
Fill your beer if you need.
Whereabouts are they on the side one?
There's a link in Slack.
There's about 4 links in Slack now.
Big thanks to Chris for revamping the website.
Yeah.
I love a good magazine theme.
Still, we need to follow up on the Joe Twist thing. Joe
That's
Twist.
fine, because I would rather go to her with something to show, rather than,
I think that's fair enough.
What was the Joe Twist name?
Joe
just
Twist.
someone we wanted to have a word with. She's the head of the, which is the games industry.
Yeah. Okay.
Industry body, and she's ShipHop. And I think she would be a good person to have a chat with about what works for what works as a membership-driven organization, what doesn't, what do you see us adding to the dialogue? But again, I would rather go to her with something to show.
I'm also keeping a bit more about the journey that they went through.
Yeah, so,
Because they are a sibling in the tech industry, so to speak. The gaming industry has always been on the leading edge, creating new technologies
Yeah.
as they've gone and as has the web.
And they're focused in Scotland.
And they're focused in
and
Scotland.
she's Scottish.
So I'm very keen on sort of understanding the journey that they've gone through.
But
As
again, I think it's one of these things where the delay worked out in the end. Because let's go to her and say, look, here's what we've accomplished so far, how do we take it, rather than say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got notes written down to ask her somewhere in a flash of genius, so we will do that, just. Hi, if you're watching this, Joe, but not with you. So are we all cool on articles of association, or does anyone need? Give it 2 more minutes. I want to have a sip of this beer on the live stream. 2 universities. Sip of beer on the live stream. Okay.
That sounds like a bully.
My mother would be rolling in her grave.
So the other thing about the Article Association is they can be changed to require a supermajority vote from the entire membership. So the committee can't work and depends on that.
Yeah, again, this is not carved in stone. This is us ticking the legal boxes to get this baby off the ground so we can get to work. And we will be agile and change things as they evolve.
I think everything should be by supermajority, none of this.
Oh, don't remind me about Andrea Leadsom, because that debate is starting in Parliament in 3 minutes. Jesus Christ. You could be at home watching Parliament and throwing things into the wall.
Do you have a dedicated wall for that yet?
It's a good idea.
It's like
Good life.
you just have one that you
My
completely
daughter
just
says my swear jar would be a barrel. So Dave asks, who will be the directors, and as a limited company, what will be the shareholding structure?
So it is a company that
Okay, if any of you can't hear,
grab the other mic. Or?
Really?
Sorry about
Remember
that.
to turn it on.
Board is on the mic.
So it is a company limited by guarantee, which means it doesn't have shareholders. So there is no way to extract profit out of the company. So commonly known as a company limited by guarantee is commonly known as a not-for-profit organisation. The two are synonymous. The company can pay people a salary, but there are no dividends that go to shareholders, which is the normal way of extracting value from a company.
And I believe for legal reasons, we're required to charge membership dues, which I think we said £20.
We did.
Yeah.
And at this point, that's to cover our basic expenses. We cannot blag free rooms forever. So we hope that's reasonable, and again, that can be revisited in future. But for now, nobody's getting paid from this. This is not a money spinner. This is not anyone creating a job for themselves. This is just getting the work done.
Yeah.
We're very good at blagging favors, but, you know, if we can't count on it. You don't want to see me go the full Del Boy, Chris. I'm good.
You would start on the side from.
Can I just ask actually?
Please do.
While you're on slacking, thank you. Yeah, just wanted to ask while you're all giving Slack messages. In terms of membership, do you have any indication or idea how many members you're looking to attract in the first instance?
Good question.
Can I go back to my February rant about how many people work in our
Yeah.
industry?
Our goal is for 600, but clever run.
We've got 90 on the
Yeah, we've got
general channel.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's differing levels of engagement, but that's a start.
Yes, yeah. So I think we've got close to 100 people who are interested in getting involved in some way.
I mean, I have done a little work being on a committee for a political advocacy group representing 700 people in Scotland, and they have consultative status at Holyrood for 700 people.
Yeah.
I mean, we do not have to be shooting for gigantic numbers here.
Lettuce growers have representation, the web industry does not. So
I mean, I looked at the list and I was just like almost in tears. There's an Association of Scottish Salmon Smokers.
Nice.
Nail bar technicians have a trade organisation
Yeah.
code of conduct.
Well, that's because they are the centre of people trafficking. I was just reading about this last night. Yeah, nail bars are like equals
Right.
human slavery and people trafficking, so they have reasons for that.
So they've got a very big interest in lobbying.
So Dave asks, do the committee become directors? This was our logic question. All
Do you want to get
all directors are on the
Or-
committee. All members of the committee are not directors.
That's the one.
Hey!
Yes.
Does that make sense, Dave? So all directors are on the committee, not all. All directors are on the committee, not all committee members are directors.
Yes. All cows eat grass, not all cows.
All
animals
pigs are
eat
equal,
grass.
not all
Yeah.
pigs.
Yeah.
So you said
Non-legal
your website
votes.
is for the it's for the UK.
Yes, it is.
Are you in contact with any other countries, groups, or do other countries have groups similar to them?
Part of what has driven this has been the fact that there is nothing like this group. There's kind of sort of one in Australia, I believe. But there is no group representing the people who actually make and work on the web as individuals. There are lobbying and advocacy groups which represent companies and corporations. There's one I'm growing more disgusted would be a strong word, by the day, that represents companies and it's by invitation only. One of the unique challenges in our industry is so many of us, I've been self-employed for 10 years. I don't even remember what it's like to have an employer at my back. Other people will be freelance for their whole careers and only ever, you might have 6 months here. So we are a unique industry in that we are, some of us are never represented by an employer, by a trade union, by anyone. No one has our back. So one of the main ideas we have for membership was that membership is open to individuals only. If 30 people from a company want to join, that's fine, but that company cannot join. And that's so those 30 people can take their membership with them when they go on to their next assignment. Or, I mean, you're self-employed, I'm self-employed. I want someone at my back, despite the fact that, so does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's plenty of groups representing companies. There's certain groups representing industries such as the gaming industry in the UK, which is superbly organized and which I think we're certainly taking as our model to follow.
Yeah.
But for the people who are actually writing the code every day, there's nothing.
This is where there's also, when we talk about some of the discussions that we've had around what is it we're focused on, two main tranches in this are essentially sort of fighting legislation and things like that, and then the other side of it is representing the actual developers themselves and conduct, following best practice. How do you defend the people that fight the good fight? Because quite often people in the workplace will be asked to do things that they don't really want to do, but they are essentially strong armed into doing it. That's how do you improve the quality of the work that we're all doing? How do you actually improve the code of a nation?
I'm not going to bring all my baggage into this, but I became aware of this problem and started vocalizing it 2 years ago when three things that had never crossed my mind were Donald Trump, Brexit, and Theresa May. I mean, think of everything's changed in 2 years in terms of, we're talking about Donald Trump talking about we're going to make databases of Muslims. We're talking about Theresa May making mandatory 6-month fingerprinting of EU nationals. Brexit, we're going to be pulled out of data protection and everything we've ever known. And who is going to speak up for people like us through these processes? There's no one. There's absolutely no precedent for an industry going through this level of political disruption with no political representation. I'm long for the days when, maybe writing a blog post about accessibility law would be the height of my week. But now I'm talking about things like, what do you do when your boss orders you to gather information on all of the gay people that your businesses serve?
Can I ask you a question? Do you identify as working on the web? Because I know I've actually worked with you personally, but I'm curious as to whether, because we've had a discussion around what it means to actually identify with Web Matters and who it is we actually represent. Because it's such a diverse ecosystem of people, and it's everyone from sort of mainframe engineers to sort of genuinely curious if that's something you identify with or whether you identify with something else.
Good question. I've worked on the web. I've been a website developer. I've worked on a company on the web. At the moment, I'm pretty good at time out from the web. We're mainly desktop. What the company I'm with now is definitely going back on. That's where we're travelling back on that. So I just talked to Charlie about it over the weekend. That was just quite interesting. So what just industry interest, really.
Yeah, I could rant until midnight. I'll share some resources later, but this group has been inspired by a reason, and that was spotting what we would call a gap in the market. And that gap was a problem in good times. And now we're heading into the most disruption our industry has ever known, with no political representation whatsoever. So I want to fight the good fight. And if this is the way to do it, let's give it a try.
Has everybody read the articles now?
Had a few people giving a thumbs up.
Yeah, there's a few people weighing in and saying they're happy.
Damn autocorrect, Dave. You all are lightning fast with the sarcastic emoji.
That is 90% of stuff. Who can get in with the snarkiest emojis?
I think that's an interesting question you raised there. Do you identify yourself as working on the web? Because I guess, like similar to Jamie, I can say, well, yes and no. I work obviously with companies who have a presence on the web, but am I a web developer? No. So that again, and I apologise because I'm I apologise because I'm not up to speed with all the previous meetings that we've had. So at the risk of boring everyone on the overall ground. So again, that was one of the questions one of the subtexts, I guess, the question about membership was, would you actively preclude people from being members if it was deemed that they were not, if they were a mainframe programmer, for example?
Absolutely not.
No,
I think the whole point is if you feel that this is relevant to you,
Yeah.
and you feel you identify with it because it's part of what you do and what you're about.
Yeah, if you self-identify as working with the web, you are welcome.
For
Yes,
me,
there is
my
no-
clarifying question would be, who has your back? If you've got a trade union representing you, if you've got an industry body representing you, if you're a member of an organized industry, that you have a card in your wallet with a number on it, this group probably isn't for you.
Probably already
Yeah.
represented, yeah.
But you're still more than welcome.
Yes, you're still more than welcome.
So, for
We did
example,
spend quite a lot of time trying to work our way through this. And
It
it
sounds
came up
like
with,
naturally, actually, like, there's a lot of something wrong with that if you identify them as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the good way forward.
Yeah.
Too many pigeonholes. I hate pigeonholes.
And I think the breadth of experience will be very helpful, because it's like talking about you coming up with things that none of us have thought of. That mainframe programmer may throw something at us that we're completely unaware of from our own angles.
Yeah.
Well, as
Is
far as
there a
I'm-
is there a risk aspect to the entirety of the question, as far as if you're aiming for 600 members, 400 of those work as cleaners at tech startups that are technically web companies? Is there like a bit of a qualifier that we have to have in order to make sure that we have some core
I will
of
go
the
to the mat
membership?
for a cleaner over anyone.
Oh,
who's-
totally. That's not my point. It's more like for consultative status or something like
As
that.
in
Do you
with
need to
the
be able to
pushback.
say? Do you need to be able to say this is how we've qualified membership, essentially?
I think that's a better articulated version of my
Yeah.
question.
As far as
And it would depend on if that hypothetical cleaner is employed by the company or by some myriad of third-party
yeah.
outsourced corporations and Grenfell Tower.
The very point, an interesting one was being forced to do bad work, and we've all seen it. We've all been made to do it, I'd imagine, something you're just not comfortable with. But that's not just a web matter, that's just an industry. So whether that's relevant to what you want to do, I don't know.
Well,
It's
so
important, but
for me, it's one of my key focuses is how to improve. And for me, it's not about chastisation, it's about education. It's how do you get the right message out. And if there's nobody actually putting that message out, I mean, we had the Web Standard Project, and I don't think they've written anything since like 2014. They were the voice to sort of other rights boards and things like that. That's the single source we went to for information in W3C, but nobody goes to that mission and actually a geek. And it's like sort of how do you sort of dilute the message and put it in the right way? You have to have advocates, you have to have a voice that's bigger than yours, and a bigger voice usually comes in numbers, and that's certainly the side that's the side of this that I'm really interested in. It's how do I support people like myself to do good work and educate companies to enable them to do good work and to be more flexible, to build better products and throw away bad practices and actually sort of focus on sort of being much happier. And it's like if you can encourage good practices, then actually make everywhere a lot more fun to work as well. You've got to start somewhere, and unless someone's saying, look, there is a better way of doing this, people are putting their heads down, then it's like, that's what I want to say with this. That's sort of, that's my bag.
Right, which one of you strapping lads has the bottle over?
Race.
Another really
how many of them?
interesting twist in all this is like there's a lot of people with valid skill sets that identify the web that have never worked commercially in their life. Like, there's a lot of kids in the bedrooms that are writing way more funky code than anything I write in my day job. They're probably more up to speed with certain specs and this, that, and the next, and they are all valid voices. How do you include them in that conversation with government unless they're part of a body? But how do you then qualify that skill set? I've never been at university. I've been working in the web for 20 years.
To be fair, I think part of the legitimacy side is that we're actually charging membership. So people voluntarily will be handing money over to Web Matters to gain membership because they feel it's important to them, and that gives it legitimacy as far as the government or whoever else is
Yes.
concerned.
To save ourselves going round in circles and discussing things we have chatted about before, I might suggest that we make a commitment to review this when we get to 600 people.
Yep.
Because there are a few things we need to think about. I'm not thinking we need to necessarily change how we're thinking, but we do need to possibly
I
review.
mean, we must absolutely always scale,
Yeah.
right?
So maybe this is that's a good way of thinking of it. When we reach a certain level, we will look at our scale.
Yeah.
I suppose the extent to which it's answered at the moment is essentially, shit, my mind's gone blank. it's essentially it's like saying there is no legal requirement at the moment
Yes.
around membership. Like there's no legal requirement for like you have to have defined a scope that then your organisation is comprised of in order to be eligible for any of the stuff down the line. So if that's not a barrier, then it doesn't need to be something that we work out now.
If you make your living on the web and you agree with our manifesto, come on board.
I think
We'll review that.
I think the reality is, at this stage of the game, you're not going to have the clear cut time for the conversation. You're not,
And there are better unions for the cleaner.
you're going to have people that have actively found us via either their own communications, other people's communications, and have an active interest in what we're doing. Therefore, it's
relevant.
it's
Yeah.
implied relevance and implied participation at this point in time because people are actively there with less than 100 people. And that will hopefully encourage an active community as well.
Yeah.
Or hopefully we together can nurture an active.
So I think everyone in this room and online is really committed to getting the membership right, but it's a cart before the horse issue right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're all agreed that we're going to postpone this until later and get it right. Does everyone agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, all you slackers agree?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of people saying, yeah, let's do it later. So.
Right now we are a big tent, and we will take all hands on board. So we dealt with we accepted the Articles of Association, right?
Yep.
Yes, we did. Okay. We talked about committee members in terms of not directors. Here's the big one, areas of focus. What are we actually going to work on as an organization? It would be all too easy for us to spend our time tilting at windmills. However, we want to do things the right way. At the AGM, we will determine what areas of focus Web Matters will work on for our first year of work. These could include specific issues, general areas, or a defined number of projects. And I know that some people have been very vocal about what they feel we should be focusing on. I have my personal opinions, but you know what they say about opinions. So I am turning this over to you and to the Slackers. So,
Can I briefly interject with something from
Yeah.
Slack? Message from James Thomas via Chris Taylor. I can't make it onto the stream right now, but the answer to comms officer question is yes. So
Sweet.
he will take
yes!
that nomination.
James, thank you
Is that
so
communications,
much.
not community?
Communications, yeah.
Communications.
Sorry.
Communications. Okay, so
Excellent, James.
Or,
thank
yeah.
you. We've actually accomplished a hell of a lot tonight, but it may not seem like it. So,
Can I propose the first of our
yes,
plans for the next year has to be getting consultative status
okay.
for me.
So Charlie's proposed the area one of focus, and it's a very logical one, is gaining consultative status, which means getting ourselves into the shape as an organization with a membership body to have the proverbial seat at the table. And that's actually quite a logical thing. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Just a question.
Yep.
Does that involve not only the size of the membership body, but also us demonstrating competence around the issues, or are we
It
already
does.
kind of doing some
It
of that
does, so
with the
competence
industry
around
issues?
the
stuff?
issues, showing that we're not just a bunch of disgruntled
Okay. So a decent amount of
So
blogging
far.
activity.
So, for
decent amount of
example,
posts.
the position papers that have been done on the website so far about these are the issues and here is how we feel about them, that is an important part of that. Does everyone remember what Andy Whiteman said from his chat with Ord? Or do you want to recount that wonderful, wonderful conversation you had with Andy Whiteman about the two kinds of groups?
Yes.
Microphone.
So essentially when the committees, government committees are talking to industry bodies, they are aware of who these bodies are representing. So, you have example one that is representing an industry as a whole. They've got a large, diverse membership and are active on the issues. The other one is essentially a rich man's golfing club. So they are well aware of where these industry bodies are coming from and what their agendas are.
And not a poor man's ping pong club.
Yeah, poor man's ping pong club. Yeah, poor person's ping pong club. This was a rich man's golfing
Nice.
club. So yes, so in that sense, through your membership and through how you demonstrate yourself, you build your own credibility.
I think one of the key focuses that we have to have in the next year, which will subsequently help with membership, is the crystallising our message and our communication strategy and all these different things and how we actually communicate with the outside world. Talked before about sort of press releases, all these kind of things, actually having all of that stuff dialed.
Yes.
So that it's not a mission to put something out. We actually have the format, we have the people, we have various people will know exactly what's required in order to put things out, but before we put things out, we 100% need to know what we're putting out.
Yeah, it's getting that consensus.
And it's, I think we have to very much crystallise what it is we're doing as, I know we're setting out an agenda, but that has to be one of those points. It's like, we need to distill it down. We need to
Restate what that was.
we need to crystallise who we are, and sort of the message we want to put out there.
And that's very
How we
much,
respond.
you know, consultative status requires us to get our identity right.
Yeah.
So it's a wonder, I mean, that first goal contains all the growing up we need to do. You had some feedback about another goal that people would like us to work on.
It was around the sort of having someone standing up for you. I believe some.
Totally put you on the spot, Chairman. It was about standards.
Yep.
Sort of ethics and standards.
Ethics and standards.
Sort of code of conduct and subscribing to.
Championing.
Being an advocate for doing things
Yeah,
right.
I know. I think, just remembering back to the cold, dark winter when we started talking about this, and this is why Ord actually first met with me. Ord's very passionate about professional standards and ethics and what happens when your boss orders you to do something you may not want to do. Ord comes from an engineering background where if you patch over something with duct tape, it collapses and kills people. And there are rules and standards in places to make sure that you can't build something with duct tape so that it doesn't. So I'm conscious of the fact that one of the foundations of this whole thing has been the issue of what standards do we have as professionals? Are they industry driven? Are they self-driven? Especially in a time like this when people are being asked to do things they would not normally do. Can everyone discuss that, please? Because I think we just need to.
There's a really interesting one around that where, from the sorry, I'm right next to it. Where we need to balance the kind of ethics stuff with a lot of folk just not being at all switched on to it. In terms of like, if you came and started reading about us, but the last 10 blog posts were all like, you need to be better at making decisions, even though your boss is telling you to do this, that, then, you know, like all the kind of ethics issues you get into, the difficulty with that stuff is always communicating it in a way that people don't feel like they're being preached at or or that there's a holier than thou thing. And it's massively needed in technology space, in the web in general.
Dave's asking, are we talking ethical standards or technical standards?
I saw a lovely website yesterday, and they do it's a piece of software on it's available in the App Store. It works on iPhone, works on Safari, and it's I can't remember the name of the company just now, but they do ethical. Or they pitch themselves 100% as writing ethical code that's good for people, good for platforms, good for like your bandwidth. Just everything they try and do is from an ethical standpoint and a technological standpoint. And I thought it was a really, really, really nice take on how they do things. I'll go and dig that out and I'll share it in Slack.
Yes.
So Shan suggests big +1 for ethical. Technical would move too fast, would it not? I would agree. That's why, as you know, I've been living and sleeping and breathing GDPR for the past year. And GDPR has been built with that exact mix of technical specifications, but not too much, because it's expected to last for 20 years. So it is more of an ethical framework than a technical framework at the end of the day. Happy Jim, ethical would be simpler, technical standards would be a nightmare to lead police of. Yeah, we don't want to get into the situation where we're like conducting code reviews on our members.
I mean, saying that, there's probably a smattering of like kind of principle stuff that could go along with it. Like if we were aligning ourselves with things like progressive enhancement or like putting accessibility for us and stuff.
Because
that's true. Yeah, it could be encompassed within that. Yeah.
There's some websites I don't even want to mention right now, but they're very popular and they run on their own set of ethics.
And if we're opening ourselves up to non-technical people, then ethical guidelines apply to everyone who's the do no harm. Like ethics apply to
the big talk I gave in March, care for the people in the data.
Yeah, so that affects project managers, product owners, company directors, developers, and hopefully cleaners. So whereas if it's you must use spaces instead of tabs, that affects a very small number of people and is not productive to anything.
So do we want to go out on that limb and establish a code of ethics? Because I know that you two alone could run with that for days.
I think
for the last 10 years.
And we'll actually live stream this, by the way, and we'll skip your in and you two can.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can I suggest maybe we have an ethics committee that's job is to work on that?
Do you know what I would actually like to do is sit and do an event, because quite frankly, it's fine sitting down and having these chats, but I want to see more people sitting in rooms. I want to see more participation. I want to give people something to come and join in with.
The ethics discussion is a perfect one.
Ethics is a really interesting one. We can reach out to anyone across the spectrum, whether it's project managers, whether it's purchasers.
So what a wonderful first sort of PR themed event for us to do as an organization, which is an open day about
an open discussion on the ethics of the modern development.
The ethics of web development in a time of political uncertainty.
Yeah, I like that. That ties it back into.
Did you watch my little talk? It was good. That was on fire. It was really bloody good.
The only way that we're going to be able to do these things is, I appreciate we've had a certain amount of lead time between events and things like that, but I'm quite keen to see at least monthly getting together in a room and having that open, making sure that this is an ongoing discussion. When we started the Island Link session with myself and Ord, the whole premise behind that was it was going to be an ongoing discussion about life in the trenches and the problems that it faces day to day, and that's where we first gave the floor to Web Matters. And the problems and issues that we face are widespread. And also, all aspects of what we do, there's ethical questions that can't be asked, and I'm very keen to continue having these discussions.
So it sounds like, to get back on track, our first organizational goal is to achieve consultative status, which is actually all the work done to get us up and running as an organization.
Yep.
The second goal is a regular focus on
Have some fun events and great
ethics,
conversations.
which will include events and conversations. Are we all agreed that ethics?
Aye.
Aye. For the live stream purposes, we're now in the point of beers being raised in the air. Aye. Sounds like bad tourist shopping here. Okay. Now, I am a fan of the rule of threes, but this is just me.
It's a good rule.
I was actually listening to a podcast from a similar American group, and that's one of the things they said they got right. Pick three.
Yeah. Any
Don't
more
go-
than that, and you're.
Don't go tilting at windmills, or as Donald Trump would say, don't go tilting at wind.
Who cares what he
turbines.
says?
So what is going to be our third focus? It could be a specific issue. It could be a
Of which there are
specific.
many.
Oh, Jesus. I'm getting more swearing
Is
live
it-
stream,
I've got
sorry.
a suggestion, maybe something like a podcast. I don't have a way to do that myself.
A podcast.
Just
going to go to the communications
You
guy.
can hand me the mic, it's getting serious.
Yes, the communications guy, sorry,
James.
James, oh, he's not on Slack at the moment.
James Thomas.
James.
Good point.
idea of having a podcast would kind of sweep up a bunch of these things we're talking about. We could react quickly and we could tap into people who already have the knowledge.
Well, a podcast is a communications issue, and a communications issue is a messaging issue. And does that mean we need to spend our first year spreading the message? Like explaining why these things are a problem?
Sure.
Because all of us in the room know these things are a problem.
I think what we have to do is foster an active, positive community.
Active, positive, yes, it's.
Yeah.
That's actually, personally, that's the best advice I have been given in the past year, and I won't say who gave me that, is probably watching this right now, but it is so easy to get up in front of a room and be doom and gloom. But if you get up there to explain and inspire and say, let's do this. So is that something that will...
There's nothing negative about what we're doing. We're trying to make life better for people that want to be involved in it.
Watch it, Dave. So, yeah, Chris, to answer your question, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It doesn't constrain us to only 3 issues. It's just...
I think Charlie hit the nail on the head as far as if one key aim is, or the key aim is to get consultative status, then industry issues is part of demonstrating our competence in that, so it's actually a key part of one of the other aims.
Can I propose that we set up some sort of forum as opposed to Slack for trying to curate conversation?
Steady on,
Are you
pal.
volunteering to run that,
2017.
pal? Yeah.
I'm putting it forward as a proposal, as a way of curating this stuff, because Slack can move too fast. I turned off Slack notifications.
How is it getting dark at
because
7:30?
Yeah.
This is depressing.
I turn off all social notifications. I can rarely engage on these platforms.
Well, you better be volunteering to run it, because I am not touching Facebook with a barge pole.
I can say it's going to touch.
We,
Facebook.
yeah, there's definitely something like Slack is good for now. There's definitely something better.
I know we discussed Trello and things like that
Yeah.
previously, but I don't know. if
Discord
that's-
is the,
Discord, there you go.
that seems to be the one that people are moving to get away from
Yeah.
the corporate trackers.
Yeah, I think it's essentially because it's a mixture of needing centralized access to stuff like, even the notion of like sticky posts, right? Like the notion of something at the top that's like, okay, you're new here, like what is this bit you're in for, and where are the industry issues, for example, where's the GitHub repo, what's the aim of what we're doing here, how does it fit into the core aims of the organization for this first year, etc., etc. It's tricky because you don't want to spend too much endeavor getting into setting up infrastructure rather than doing the work.
Well, I think one of the key goals then should perhaps be how do we actually enable other people to participate,
Yeah,
as opposed to being
Yeah.
the top-down voice, which we ultimately don't
Yeah.
want to be.
yeah.
So
Slack-
how do you
Slack is
enable
pretty-
third parties
yeah.
to be involved?
Chris has just come up with BB Press installing form on the website.
Oh my God, I am not running that.
So that would need a volunteer with it.
Yeah. Chris, if you wanna, that's what floats your boat, go ahead, but
Instead of diving into anything, I would like
Just
to make
that
a goal that we actually have something at the end of the year, which is how we actually engage in
Yeah.
sort of all that repository of information around sort of what it is we're doing. When Chris is asking, can we only limit it to 3 things? No, because there's a whole ton of stuff.
Oh, there is, but
If
it's
you
all
think you
part
can
of
pick something up and run with it, then feel free.
feeds into all these things. So, should we have that as the next committee meeting agenda point?
Perhaps, yeah.
So we've got an event that we need to put on, ideally in October, which is about ethics, and we can do that 4 weeks, not a problem. And then committee meeting in October, all welcome to discuss how we're going to communicate.
is that cart before the horse, maybe get the organization running in October rather than in November?
Yeah, we could.
I mean, yeah.
And
we're all
November's
just-
good for that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're all flying by the seat of our pants, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
One thing at a time.
yeah.
Yeah. So committee meeting in October to establish a communication forum.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Elvis?
To some degree.
Okay. We've got the sonic screwdriver for later.
How far have we got on the idea of the third focus for this year?
So I think you guys had it. Did you not? Oh, I missed that.
Were you happy with the notion of the podcast
That fed into communications, which fed into
forum?
messaging,
Mhm.
which for me feeds into making people aware of the problem in the first
Yeah.
place.
Which is kind of then consultative status,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So it all links into that first one. Okay.
So,
So we still haven't got a third.
Is there a reason that we're aiming for 3?
Rule of threes.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
at random. Does anyone in the forum have, see what you're doing? The Slack channel have strong feelings about the third focus? Go ahead.
Just like 5th of November suggestion then.
No, ethics is the second focus. Chris.
If we're doing October for the 5th of November, we've worked. Anyway.
If I take the mick out of you, I like you, so don't take that the wrong way, Chris. The repo of issue stances is a communications issue. It could feed into, I don't know. Communications could almost be its own. It could almost be the third focus on its own.
Because it is huge.
because as soon as we can get someone or a few people together to focus on communications, then we can start to grow the membership, which improves our consultative status, which gives us more people to talk about the ethics. So I think communication.
Almost too big not to be its own one, isn't it?
Yeah, and given
Yeah.
that we work in the industry that's entire purpose is effective communications, we really need to do this.
No,
Yeah.
cat gifts. It's not.
Dave has suggested the third focus is education/support. Communications is education. This is a problem, and here's why it is a problem.
There's 2 parts to
Yeah.
effective communication. There's like sort of communication about what it is we're doing, and then
The
there's
engagement piece and then the education piece, isn't it?
I think the communication piece is underpinning everything.
Yeah.
I think I'd love to be education, so but I don't think we have enough people to do that. The way we're working, it's not like we can hire someone in to write something. We need a large pool of people to be able to do this. Same with support. We don't have the resources to do that unless we have a larger membership. So I think all of those again sit on.
It probably depends on exactly what we mean by education, because chances are through every piece of activity we're undertaking, we are bringing some degree of education.
Yeah.
I'm learning a shit ton of stuff about the various industry issues that are in the
which
repos.
is our focus.
Yeah.
You know, whether education is a fallout.
It's a byproduct.
from that,
Yeah. I mean, support is an interesting aspect, which is essentially going to professional support, right? Like kind of sort of, I've got this issue at work, or I've got this, or I've got that, or the other. Possibly even getting into some of the realm of, unions and so on and so forth. That feels very much like something that is post larger membership, I think. I don't know that there's necessarily just the number of people involved at the moment that could really facilitate, like, hey, I have this. I mean, maybe for now it's just an area of forum or Slack or whatever else that you can go to and you can say, hey, I've got this issue, or some mechanism for posting anonymously about an issue and folk weighing in.
Here's the hypothetical. Going back to our British Lettuce Growers Association example, stuff's happening in Parliament. Some enterprising journo Googles us and asks one of us if we can be on BBC News at 10 o'clock to represent our membership on an issue. And you're making dinner in your kitchen. Do we anticipate being at a level where we can respond to that and say, hell yeah, come on over?
I think that's where we've got to be aiming for.
Yeah.
That's what we want, is to actually be able to.
I mean, this is what the past 2 years have taught me, is we do not get to choose how we develop as an organization. We will be thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
I would be very uncomfortable putting anyone in that position without media training. Media training costs money, and money means membership.
Yep. So this is the steady progression that we've got.
Likewise, Parliament sneaks in a 2-week consultation for the purposes of saying, hey, we did a consultation on something. Well, there's a possibility today, and I mean today, in the Senate, they overrule intermediary liability in America.
I think that the important thing we have to acknowledge is, if we're going to do things right, we have to acknowledge our maturity, and you don't put a baby in front of a wolf.
I'm taking notes.
Yes, there are some things we will be able to do. The consultation piece, we could gather the community and respond to that now.
Yeah.
But the interview bit, we're nowhere near ready. We have to acknowledge where we are.
Do it if we like.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but what you're looking for with the response to, like, say, going on the TV or whatever, being interviewed, what you're looking for is that there is already information there to read up on that we have assembled as a community about this issue. We have our take on it, and all that person needs to do is go on and be able to articulate that and to be able to respond to questions. But in doing so, have that measured against a kind of just set of bullet points. Here's the 4 key things to remember when you're being interviewed as somebody who represents Web Matters.
So, I put a lot of effort into a speech I gave at the beginning of the year, and one of the things I spoke about was the Tor Project's 10 principles for working online in hostile states. And the first principle is prepare informed commentary to policy crises. Do we want one of our focuses to be prepared to provide informed commentary on issues? Do we want our voice, the fact that we are a voice and we can provide a voice, to be part of the purpose of our existence?
Yes, that stuff scares the bejesus out of me. I don't see when the GDPR paper went out and we all started having a look at it. I'm a busy man with a different skill set. And it takes a very specific skill set to be able to sort of take this and digest it, understand it, and then provide an informed, educated response to it. Because it's written in a certain way that you have to learn to understand it.
Yeah.
And it's, how many people do we have that actually know and understand it effectively enough to form that That's why
I think, well, there will be a few. That's the point of having.
No, I get that. That's where, like, sort of, I can't get involved in that to an extent. I can sit in an open room and I'll have a discussion about it. I'm fine with that. I think what's really important is if we are going to go out with any kind of response, that we do set a room and we do have a discussion about it. We can actually, it can be put into layman's terms so that someone can actually go, actually, that's really shit, or actually, that's really.
And for me,
here's what I think of it.
This is one of the key bits of having that forum that Ben talks about is because we're going to be gathering members and to give people a voice, we need to ensure that we're providing a place where these discussions can happen quickly.
Safe place.
Yeah, a safe place where they can happen quickly. There will be disagreements. Not everybody will agree with everything that Web Matters does as a member, but hopefully everybody is in it for the right reasons, and that's why we're all going to be members of it. But we've got to go with consensus. So if there's a consensus formed that this is our response, that's what we should be putting forward. Does that make sense?
So when Amber Rudd goes on Andrew Marr at 9 in the morning on a Sunday and says we need to ban encryption, are we equipped to have a rant on our website by 10 in the morning?
I think we want, that's what we're aspiring to, is being able to get that response quickly of, right, this has happened, the signal goes up, as many people are able to contribute, we get a response, we get it up.
I think that has to be one of our key goals.
Yeah.
I think in the first year is to actually be able to do that, make sure very quickly that do that.
Once again, that's part of the consultative status piece.
How do you get that one view, I guess? Whoever's talking to you doesn't want to hear a whole load of noise, they want to hear a coherent view. How do you get to it?
I think it's going to be distilling it down. So we're probably going to build up some specialists, and we've got some specialists already, on political matters, on communication, and they will need to steer it. So we will need a steering committee of some kind on responses of that type. And those who want to contribute should be part of that. And then the rest of us can sit in the sidelines and occasionally say, what about this?
So if journalists aren't going to come to us wanting to put us on the news straight away, if we come out with press releases, we come out with responses, we start to build our credibility. That's when they're going to say, oh right, we've seen your stuff before, you've always got a good quote.
And by that point, we want to be at the point where we have a team of people who are the face of Web Matters for those responses.
So I think we keep circling back to communication. I think
it's quite chatty and Slack, so have a look at that and see what the conversation's going.
With bottom line is, if you're going to be an industry body, you better be bloody good at chatting. You better be able to.
I have gotten calls at 4:30 in the afternoon saying, can you come on TV tonight and talk about X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, no. Because I'm just, I am one person working.
Annoyed a lot of them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben?
Yeah.
That's for the communications committee to decide.
Yeah, it should be set to one where you just walk up to it and it'll do you back in again? Yeah. Cool. So you just give a knock at it and I'll come here.
Yes, we're going to be proactive.
Yeah.
We're going to be opinionated. You're not going to be like certain groups I'm not going to name, which are basically government sycophants.
Surely, don't agree. We keep coming back to that communication one being the third one because it does involve all of this stuff.
And the other thing I like about it is that it's a way for members to get involved.
Yeah.
It serves everything.
It's going to be the driver. Yeah.
So I think like bringing it up and making it number 3 is this is what we're doing on the grounds that it supports all the other stuff.
So number 3 is
Communication.
communications.
Which includes responses, messages, forums.
Proactive communications.
Getting new users.
Yeah.
So,
Can we qualify that as proactive communications?
I would like to go one step forward and actually have a marketing strategy. Like something in black and white.
Did you hear that, Shan? A marketing strategy.
It lays out in black and white how we're actually going to go out and who we're going to talk to, how we're going to talk to them, and what we actually want to get out, what's the return investment for that marketing strategy.
That's under an umbrella of communications.
Yeah, but that's a physical manifestation. That's something that is a deliverable that we must have in order to proceed.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's, we're just having a conversation. It's like what you actually need is that document that states this is how we're going to do it. It's fine to sort of be like managing community and making sure that sort of someone doing all the social media and this and the next, making sure that if someone comes on the Slack channel that they are meant they are meant to be. They feel welcome and things
We
like
have
that.
a consistent brand message, so if you are going out speaking to potential members, here's a bunch of resources that these are you can use. Here's an outline for a talk. If you're going to press releases, an outline for what webmaster language is like.
You convinced me with it's a deliverable, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, communication is the umbrella, but the deliverable is
Yeah.
a marketing strategy or a communication strategy.
The work that's been done up until date has been brilliant because it's given us a form of identity.
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't then have is that crystallised goal of
Absolutely.
who and why and what we want to get out of our communication.
So there's a communication strategy for.
It's like it's one thing to right, we want to have bulletins out there, we want to have crisis response, we want to make sure that we've said something whenever we've got a code rod. But the other part, so the other part of is sort of the wider message. How are we building our brand? How are we building our message? Who are we trying to involve?
Who are we trying to reach and how?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's something that we absolutely must do.
Which is all the comms strategy. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
the focus of the past 2 years of my work has been making people realize there is a problem. They don't realize there is a problem until it's laid out from them, and they're like, so and the challenge is doing that in a positive, constructive, and inspiring sort of way. So any comms we have to do has to be like that. It's not about scaremongering. It's not about us against them. It's about speaking truth to power and empowering people who work on the web to find the voice. Is that our 3 areas?
It's in a minute, so yeah.
Oh, it's in the secretary's minutes. Chris, you're Venn diagramming. Jesus. You have way too much time on your hands. Okay.
I think CodeRun would be an excellent marketing tool if we have a Twitter account that is just CodeRun whenever something happens.
I know things
Hashtag
about
code run.
I know things about Amber Run that I can't really disclose.
Can you
tell us if we can
Public-
discuss?
There are 2 more of these in there.
Reflecting a conversation in Slack, this is a public stream.
So Semanticist has left a comment that he left the Pirate Party after the Pirate Party discussion board had a long discussion about if opposing child porn is allowable given their position on free speech. Is that a matter for the ethics committee? Like, where do our ethics not go?
Obviously.
No, I mean, it's not that particular issue.
But yes, there will be some things that.
You know, the freedom of, I'm monitoring the Senate, that, you know, intermediary liability may be stripped away because of one website that allows sex trafficking.
Yeah.
But we discuss it private and then we publish public.
But then what is private? This is something that's come up in conversation in Slack, and actually this is a reasonably open thing.
Yeah.
We could have somebody sitting around on Slack at the moment who is, a member of government keeping an eye on us.
Yeah.
We don't know that. Even if these things were tied to membership, paying 20 quid for membership for a year is not going to preclude it. So actually, for me, it comes back to a code of conduct and conducting ourselves in such a way that you cannot leak anything that happens from Web Matters, because it's all entirely above board and sensible anyway. If everything measures up to the code of conduct and code of conduct and its enforcement is robust enough, then there will never be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, as Dave's just pointed out, nothing to stop journalists joining in order to get a story.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So don't give them anything to talk about.
Or what you give them to talk about is these are relevant issues and there are people upset with it.
I don't think I'd be anything being
Fast typing.
challenged or written down apart from the odd swear word. Which...
Yeah.
Or £10,000 joining fee for journalists.
So have we actually accomplished all three of our areas of focus?
Yes.
Excellent.
The last area on the agenda was regional chapters. We wanted Web Matters to run on a shut up phone. You keep beeping and slacking. And at this meeting, we'll discuss what resources we need to put into place to make that happen. Can we turn that over to the people on Slack? What resources do you need from us centrally or are willing to provide to us? What do you expect from us?
Beer is
Chris,
research.
that is not a problem. Chris, you'll need to come up here for your proper induction. If you can remember it, you weren't there.
Am I allowed to ask what our secondary focus was?
Ethics.
I was listening.
Ethics.
Ethics.
Come up for the Christmas market, Chris.
Stay for the ethics.
Stay for the ethics.
And our third area of focus,
Communication strategy. Proactive communication.
Or marketing strategy or comm strategy.
Some sort of communication.
I think comms strategy is probably the best because it does cover them.
Yeah.
I think the idea of is the manager could do a town hall. Where you've got folk from all the different towns dialing in. You know, have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
Any awful feedback? Is there anything to do about that?
unfortunately.
No, it's not. Okay.
We're going to have to think about how we do this in future because it's okay for a few of us to look. But imagine when you've got like 40 people, 50 people on Slack. That's
Or
okay.
the 600 that we want to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's so we need a different forum for it, and we need yeah. Well, that's something for the.
I think this is why I'd like to get into the realms of sort of having more regular events.
Because we
Where
can
we
start
have
around
active
the country.
topics to
Yeah.
discuss. They can be hosted down the road if people want to do them down the road.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important that we get these things going and folk can dial in, but it's not necessarily always going to be a two-way street.
No.
If you can make it, you can make it. If you can't, it's like you said at the beginning of the night, those who are present are active.
So on here, we'll think of better channels, whether it's tweeting. I mean, we used to use Twitter for the Highland Flint events, absolutely right. So, yeah, we'll come up with some.
I like the idea of Twitter being more active because it means there's more noise. Slack's closed, whereas Twitter's there for everyone to see.
So there's some requests for resources from Chris there.
Is that the
Short talk templates, graphics, issue docs, etc. So basically generated content and templates.
Stickers. Why does it always come down to stickers? It's just got to cover the laptop,
Pin badges,
Yeah.
basically.
Stickers.
T-shirts.
T-shirts, yeah.
So tat.
Stickers are not tat. I won't.
T-shirts are useful.
Very much.
Yeah, you get this, Chris, you
Bottom
get
openers,
this.
yes.
Yeah. Good old FanDuel, and my FanDuel t-shirt and my FanDuel bottle opener.
We have a corporate plant over here, ladies and gentlemen.
I
Then
do have a
you
fan
commit
duel
sticker
bottle.
adultery. Sticker adultery is putting a sticker on your laptop from a conference you weren't actually at.
Yes,
You're a sticker adulterer. I've only done it once.
your conference.
But in all honesty, your
It was really
bottle
good to
openers
do.
are a really good promotional tool.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Right, we're getting into
I'll
piss
find a
take
way to
time.
get a
This might have
sponsorship
to do
to
with
get the
the
money
clock.
to get them done.
So, I mean, we don't want to do things like set a goal for how many local chapters we want after it, or do we?
No.
I don't care if it's two guys in a pub talking about it, as long as they're talking about it.
I think.
I'm going to say guys, I mean anybody.
Oh, yeah, the more the merrier, basically. Regional Twitter accounts?
I wonder if
Is this for
that's
when West Yorkshire secedes and starts creating their own?
the
Tennis for Yorkshire.
I think something like
Blogged
regional,
internet.
yeah, something like regional anything needs to be tabled as a like comms matter.
Yeah.
As far as like one of the things that we've seen already is our ability to make every possible Slack channel
Yeah.
and then not use them. And that goes for kind of Twitter accounts and everything else. If all those Twitter accounts do is retweet the main Web Matters account, then actually the main Web Matters account is just the thing to run at the moment.
Yeah, what they need to be, the regional one is for them organising their...
Exactly, it's the chapter one, and actually you would generally probably end up as a chapter encouraging folk to follow both. So you follow us for details of when your chapter meetings are and what's going on locally, and you follow Web Matters for the centralised stuff.
I've not caught up on all of the what's being said right now, but does that mean we actually need an Edinburgh regional one,
I
or a
don't
Lothians regional one?
Any of that just now.
Okay.
One Twitter account
Cool.
that we
Oh, no,
actually, we figure out what the hell
Yes,
we're doing
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
But we want an Edinburgh chapter and a Glasgow chapter would seem to be,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and the Leeds chapter, they're already ahead of us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
Cool.
And actually, yeah. And I think the main
Yeah, not necessarily a Twitter account, but yeah, actually get.
yeah the
You almost
main
need a regional pack.
Well, this is the thing I was going to say, is it'd be really tempting to go, what's a region going to need, and try and produce that and then have it there. It might be better to just pave the cow paths on it and say, okay,
Yeah.
what do you need regionally? It sounds like things like slide decks and stuff, just so there's a bit of an official or branded vibe to, oh, we're going to have a meetup. We'd quite like to have some slide decks that are,
But the thing is, we can feed into that as
Yeah.
the Edinburgh region, rather than us being the
Yes.
Web Matters guys.
yeah,
A lot of the
exactly,
feedback I've gotten is people think this is a Scottish organisation,
yeah,
just because
It's been set up in.
yeah,
and to be fair, when we started talking about this in February, IndieRef 2 was on the horizon.
Yeah, so we were targeting Holyrood.
Yeah, and now it's been kicked into the long grass. So I think it's important for us to not present as a Scottish organisation.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, but
I think it was also because we had Hollywood on our doorstep, we were all in the same city.
yeah,
It was more down to various local conversations, but it was very quickly dusted over by people. So Liverpool and Leeds and Manchester, and they're all immediately interested in being involved. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's definitely not a Scottish organisation.
Should we table the regional chapters and requirements for as the second agenda point of the next committee meeting in October then?
The best
Get feedback.
thing possibly could be if we could have a page on the site that's like, so you'd like to set up a local chapter,
Exactly.
and just a really straightforward thing that's like, please go for it, please get involved, please do whatever you need.
Let us
Yeah.
know what you need.
Yeah.
Here's what we need from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
At very minimum, you need an asset pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just tried to talk into my beard
Good.
phone, which
It will amplify you. It just sound odd.
Yeah. So I think Sean would be willing to help with an asset pack. The assets aren't the problem; it's the messaging and the communications and the positioning. But that's where we all
Yeah.
pitch in.
Only communication is not allowed to.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on it already, that girl.
Legend.
Beautiful.
So Chris suggests a page on the site, so you want to set up a local chapter. And I think we don't beat around the bush. This is hard work. This is not a vanity project. This is not something to furnish your CV. This is, I want people who are going to sweat over this.
So do we need something of a statement then that says what is a local chapter for? Like what is the aim of the local chapter?
Statement that says what is a local chapter
Yeah.
for? Absolutely.
I think someone else needs to tell us that.
So the thing I had in mind was it'd be really easy if there was not a Webby meetup near you to start a Web Matters meetup that's actually just the equivalent of Tech Meetup and is just Tech Talks. I think a local chapter should ideally be meeting, maybe to do some of that stuff, but primarily to be feeding into one of our key goals for that year.
Yeah.
Maybe we could attempt to have sister meetups. So where we're talking about ethics, local chapters can actually go off and try and do it on the same day. That way we don't have to try and have this cross communication thing. We're actively doing it more than one place. There's logistics
Comparing
involved in
notes
that.
at the end in terms of these are the outcomes we can.
Well, yeah,
Discover that we fundamentally disagree.
I think it's genuinely interesting of what might come out of one conversation here, because it's easy to lead a conversation,
Yeah.
but it's very easy to sort of mob steer a conversation or have one person that's louder.
I actually just had a thought that this is, the local chapters could include something like, if you're in a big company, so you're in Dollop Corp, you're in Corporate Overlord, there is your Corporate Overlord chapter. So those people who are working for
Corporate Overlord Edinburgh.
Yeah.
No need to name names.
Well,
And
this is
Corporate
a
Overlord
dangerous
would have a
game.
problem with that.
That could be any one of 5 companies.
Yeah.
Good see, Jim.
Corporate
Thank you.
Overlord.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Cheers.
What happens when someone sets up a local chapter, and do we get paid on the website, or they go think about it?
Claire's question was what happens if someone sets up a local chapter, do they get paid? I think
No
no one.
page on the
Page on the site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we need to be very clear. This is work. This is not fun. This is not something to big yourself up. This is a commitment.
Yeah.
And my own personal thought, and you will know this, Claire, has been to use the model of the WordPress community, which is you can start a meetup, but it ain't about you, and there's rules you have to follow, and you'll get your expenses reimbursed, but you ain't getting paid for this. You don't speak for this, you speak for this, you behave in this way, and I think that will be important along the way to find that happy medium of personal initiative and stick to these guidelines because you are a representative of our organization.
Because it can't come after the ethics and stuff.
Well, it's half ethics and half corporate guidelines, and I think to be fair, that would be it for anything. I mean, that's it for the Girl Guides. You know, you can start a Girl Guides troop in your local community, but these are the rules you have to follow. Okay. Yeah. But that again, it's a chicken egg thing about membership. We need to get the members in before we start telling them. We start formulating how we behave as an organization.
I think Ben nailed it very well earlier on. I do things that you're trying to be doing. Don't be a dick. Conduct yourself like you would like to. Tesco said it brilliant. Treat other people like you'd like to be treated yourself. It's like if you conduct yourself in sensible, above board, nice fashion, then people are likely to engage with you. If you're going to go out there waving a stick at people, I don't mind doing that in the workplace, but it's different when you're actually trying to convey a message.
So what happens when someone doesn't get their freelance contract renewed because they're a member of Web Matters and that's seen as pesky trade activism?
That's when I get a stick out.
I will pay money to see you with a stick.
Well, assuming if we're that well known by then that gives a voice to that sort of behaviour, and that's unethical, we would stand up for it.
That was the right answer, Charlie.
I think there's a response model in the building trade we can look at, because they have been operating blacklists for a number of years.
I actually read the book on that. There's literally a book written about it. And I'll
Yeah,
read it next
yeah.
time I see you, about the construction industry blacklists.
Great.
Do you know, or people know this, when I worked for a certain company, I'm not going there, but I was able to, I'm going to say weaponize doing the right thing, where I was able to actually say, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to accept that unless it's done the right way. And I was empowered to do that. And actually, it was a real enabler for everyone that was doing things, because it was just a point blank no, and I had the support to say it. And it's like, if we can empower other people to do that, then that's one of the biggest goals I run. Ever since I did my first conference, it's like, I want people to be able to say no, I want people to be able to say yes. It's like, I'll do that for you.
Right, so Alan had his Rosa Parks moment. What about the rest of us? Rule number one, if I take the mick out of you, I like you. Don't take it from me.
Thanks, Ken.
Weaponise things, I think. Yeah.
And it was a huge stake that was wheeled over people. It was just like, if you're not going to do the right thing, you're not going to get there.
I can see it on a t-shirt though,
Yeah.
we weaponise doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it's time to start closing up for the night. Is there anything else we have not dealt with legally or otherwise? We've hit all the legal bases.
Yep.
Peanut Gallery. Peanut Gallery, I'm consciously aware that it's that thing where we're keeping the venue open. So, etc.
I've kind of got a bit of a procedural question.
Procedural question, go ahead.
Who is on the committee at the moment, and when are we meeting next?
That's a matter for the secretary to coordinate.
But I kind of...
We can help to clarify. So,
Okay.
officially on the committee at the moment,
Yep.
there's yourself, Alan, James, and me as the 4 named members. But there are other members, if they want to volunteer to be on the committee,
Yeah.
they can be non-named members of the committee.
And you need to check with James that he's happy being the director.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's explicitly.
It doesn't have to be a director.
Doesn't have to be, but
Yeah.
Do I have to do
don't think
that?
he's explicitly constant.
You don't have to be a director.
I'd
We
rather
need
not
to.
be. I'm quite happy to be a
Do you want? Are you okay staying being a director? In that case, nobody has to be a
I
director.
don't mind doing it if it needs to be done. If it doesn't need to be done, then...
Legally, it doesn't need to be done.
So what you're saying is both Charlie and Ord are currently directors, and neither of you are in a hurry to get off of that list. So
I don't
there's
think it
not
affects
there's
us
not a
that
problem.
way.
Yeah. Okay.
So being a director, I would be on the committee.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're the only...
So he's
you're
a
the
non-named
only-
committee member at the
Yes.
moment.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to work out the rest of us want to be...
I was going to say, is there anybody here who particularly wants to be on the committee?
Please?
I'm looking at you now.
As you're aware, I'm about to be put into a personal blender, but that should not preclude me from checking in wherever I am. So please put me on the committee if it would help. I'm quite happy to get this baby into the world.
I think that would be.
Okay.
You've been an active part of the steering committee since conception, and therefore, even if you're not 100%...
We are using far too many childbirth metaphors for Ben's comfort over here.
I'm totally fine. I've done my NCT classes. Like I'm just you watch.
So I'm about to be put into a personal blender, but it's temporary. So
Yeah.
I will emerge at some point ready to go.
I'm going to
And
go
I'm-
through a very similar blend.
Similar
Well,
blender to Alice.
Yeah, I think the point is I think we're all going to have life stuff that gets in the
Yeah.
way at times, but that's why there's
Just
a number of
me and
people
Alan's
involved.
happens to be particularly gory, just not with each other.
Yeah.
Dave is putting himself forward as well. Dave,
Right.
I missed that, what is that?
bite your tongue, Sean.
Excellent. No, yeah.
That particular shop is closed, Sean.
So, duties of a committee member are essentially attending as many meetings and having a voice on the committee. Now, everybody, membership-wise, has a voice anyway.
It should be
But it's just-
stated, attendance is not physical, you do not have to
No,
be here.
absolutely.
It's Skype in from wherever you are.
So the main plus is Dave.
Dave Potter, yes.
It might even be the case that
He's
we
good
end up
folks.
doing a lot of those things we should promote because we're all digital people.
Absolutely.
Having said that, with everything that we've done over the last few years together, having a physical,
Is great.
it's good and it's not necessarily a burden. It can actually be quite good fun. I enjoy this. I like being around like-minded people. I find it comforting being around like-minded people and able to talk and be understood and actually have a conversation about how to change the world. So,
So to answer Dave's question about
What's involved?
what's on the committee, essentially.
Hold on, can you talk to the microphone,
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, so the committee essentially has the executive power to do anything short of changing the constitution, pretty much. And it's the constitution that empowers them, so they can't self-empower themselves.
I read that book.
Too much information. So if there are things that need doing for the purpose of the company, like, say, signing off on an expense to hire something, agreeing a communication strategy, the committee can vote it and then make it official Web Matters policy. So they give it the official certified stamp of approval.
Second question, given that I'm secretary, and I should really know about these things, like procedurally, have we done the right things to select our committee positions? Do we need to do the formal proposer and seconding and voting sort of stuff? Or are
We don't, because we didn't have that in the constitution, did
Cool,
we?
fine,
Yeah.
that's
So-
happy.
It's just
We-
people nominated and accepted.
This is a core AGM and a vote has been conducted.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So coming from
I mean,
a
just-
party political background where things have to be done.
The same,
Absolutely.
everything we've done to date has been the interim committee,
Yeah.
because somebody had to book the rooms and book the meetings. It doesn't mean what, this is not our organization, this is not our show. But at the same time, somebody's got to, literally book the room. So we've done what we have to do. Once we get the membership paid in on a roster somewhere, they will take over. This is just, as I said earlier, we're the midwives. Sorry, Ben.
It's all good.
I very much want to clear the venue by 8:30. Anything else whatsoever? Peanut Gallery.
Any chance?
Dave, turn that over to Sean, One Red Sock. And you're welcome to work with her on that and loop in the rest of us. Loop in the communications people. Sean, One Red Sock did our beautiful branding.
And my beautiful brand. And my beautiful brand.
You're really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you need any branding,
Ask Gord.
Excellent.
Anything else whatsoever that you'll think of when you're getting off to bed tonight?
there's a few people typing.
Okay.
Suspense music.
Am I the only person who goes out and thinks of everything just as they're drifting off to sleep?
There you go.
Okay. Notebook by the bed? Totally, yeah.
No, I usually think of it while I'm cycling to work. If I was all there, I've forgotten everything.
Yeah.
Chris, thanks so much for all your work so far, in particular
Yeah.
the website and starting the Yorkshire chapter. I expect to be paid in Yorkshire crisps. Never had Yorkshire crisps.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
Secret.
Oh my God.
I lived in York for 10 years, so yeah.
Yorkshire crisps. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That was one thing
And
when I
Yorkshire
first
one
moved
doesn't
up
know
to
about
Scotland
Yorkshire
was
crisps.
couldn't get Yorkshire crisps.
You get them at Preston when you're changing?
You can get them
Yes,
now, but
yes,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
Priorities.
And a really hot
No, Chris, I mean Yorkshire Christmas. I'm getting this right.
There's a complaint that was submitted. You typifies it.
About the chili.
Yeah, apparently it turned her husband deaf.
That's a good chili.
Sean, thank you for your beautiful branding and all your energy at helping us communicate the right way from the start. And for the endless entertainment that your son provides. Oh, Chris, you've wrapped up the venue, yeah?
Nice.
It's dark out.
Oh dear.
It's that time of year where it's like, whoa. Oh, shush it.
One
Closing thought from Alan, yes.
Sounds like a question.
Make it quick, mate.
It is a question because I've asked it before and I'm curious how it works. Sponsorship and additional funding mechanisms because...
That is a matter for the committee to deal with
Yep.
when the request comes in.
Okay.
Let's wish all the best to Ben, who's going to be a dad like any day,
Absolutely, good
any
luck.
day, any minute now.
Thank
and
you.
we'd like to thank Baby Ben for not interfering with IGM.
New mascot.
Anything past now is
Yeah, due on Thursday. So
I would like to personally thank Charlie and Ord, who's left
Yep.
the room, and Alan
yeah,
for having my back for the past 6 months and taking this from me swearing like a trucker in a room full of 9 people at FanDuel in the middle of winter to this point where this organization has actually been born. Thanks to all of you who've been involved in the Slack group and shared your ideas and your constructive criticisms. Thanks to everyone who's come along tonight. Thanks to every one of you in the Slack channel. Yes.
boom.
This is bigger than all of us and it's more important than all of us, and thank you all for being the midwives at bringing something bigger into the world. Thank you.
Nice.